Welcome to the Datamam Podcast, where we decode the data-driven world. I'm Simon.
And I'm Richard. Today we're diving into something that's transforming industries in real time, but still flies under the radar for most people. Web scraping.
It's the invisible engine behind market intelligence, price optimization, AI training, and even trend forecasting. But it's also a space packed with complexity and, honestly, some controversy.
So today we're pulling back the curtain. What exactly is web scraping? Why does it matter? Who's using it? And how should we think about the ethics, risks, and opportunities it brings?
You know what's mind-blowing? Every single day, businesses collect more data in an hour than was created in an entire year just 2 decades ago.
And the vast majority of that data? It's unstructured, scattered across websites, platforms, and databases. That's why web scraping is such a game changer. It brings order to that chaos and turns it into actionable insight.
So let's start at the top. Web scraping is essentially automated data collection from websites, but calling it that almost undersells what it really does.
Right, because what we're talking about isn't just data collection. It's giving companies the ability to understand their markets in real time, with zero manual input.
Let's take a real-world example. A local bookstore in the Midwest, family-run, not a big chain, started using a scraping tool to monitor prices on Amazon and other retailers. They learned that their competitors were changing prices several times a day, especially during holiday seasons. So they set up automated alerts and adjusted their pricing strategy accordingly. Within 3 months, their sales jumped by over 40%. That's the magic of data done right. And it doesn't stop with pricing. Companies use scraping to monitor reviews, analyze competitor product catalogs, track press releases, even study how a rival's homepage changes over time.
Basically, if it's public and online, scraping can turn it into insight. But let's go one layer deeper. What's actually happening under the hood when a scraper runs?
Good question. So every website is built using 3 main components: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Scrapers work by loading a web page and parsing the HTML, which is the structure, to extract the information they're programmed to find.
Think of it like a super fast assistant that visits a web page, scans for exactly what you need, whether that's a product price, an article headline, or a job listing, and then copies it into a clean, structured format.
But here's where it gets tricky. Websites aren't designed for machines. They're built for humans. So scrapers often need to mimic human behavior. They rotate IP addresses, insert random delays, and even simulate mouse movements or scrolling.
One ticketing company we studied used these techniques to scrape millions of data points per day without getting blocked. They had this whole bot behavior simulation layer. It was like teaching a robot to act convincingly human.
Of course, companies don't just sit back and let this happen. There's an ongoing arms race between scrapers and the websites they're targeting.
Some websites deploy CAPTCHAs, those annoying select all the traffic lights puzzles, to filter out bots. Others go deeper using honeypots, which are invisible links meant to trap automated crawlers.
And yet, scrapers evolve too. They use residential proxies to disguise their origins, machine learning to mimic browsing behavior, and even full headless browsers that replicate real user sessions.
It's a constant game of cat and mouse. But here's the thing, it's not always adversarial. Plenty of websites actually want to be scraped. They just want it done responsibly. Let's talk about who's using scraping today. Real estate platforms tracking competitor listings, financial firms monitoring earnings calendars and market-moving headlines, retailers adjusting prices in real time, travel companies checking flight or hotel rates, even investors scraping job boards to predict company growth based on hiring trends.
One of my favorite examples, a mid-sized brand that created a sentiment dashboard. They scraped reviews, tweets, Reddit posts, and forums. When negative sentiment spiked around a certain product, their customer service team got an alert and jumped in proactively.
That's turning public chatter into customer satisfaction, and they didn't need a massive analytics department to pull it off. Just the right tools and a clear goal. But with great power comes a lot of gray areas. The legality of web scraping depends heavily on what data you're collecting and how.
Here's a simple rule of thumb. Stick to public, non-sensitive data. Follow terms of service, and don't overwhelm the servers. Also, always respect robots.txt files. Think of those as the digital equivalent of a do not enter sign.
That said, the legal landscape is still evolving. There have been landmark court cases, like the HiQ versus LinkedIn battle, that continue to shape what's considered fair game.
And then there's the ethical side. Just because something's legal doesn't mean it's right. If you're scraping someone's user data, even publicly visible profiles, you need to think about consent, privacy, and intent.
So what's next? Web scraping isn't just staying, it's evolving. With AI integration, scrapers are starting to interpret what they extract. Not just what something says, but what it means. Imagine scraping thousands of product reviews and instantly understanding whether a brand's reputation is rising or falling, not based on star ratings, but emotional tone. Or scraping news articles and predicting market impacts. Or detecting when a competitor is about to launch a new product, just based on the job titles they're hiring for and the changes to their site structure.
We're even seeing scraping integrate with blockchain, creating transparent, auditable data trails that prove where the data came from and how it was handled.
So what's the bottom line? Web scraping is a force multiplier. It helps companies, big or small, make smarter, faster, data-driven decisions.
But it's not magic. The key is strategy. Start with a specific goal. Track prices, monitor sentiment, analyze trends. Then scale as you go.
The companies that win with scraping aren't the ones with the biggest budgets. They're the ones that ask the smartest questions.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. You can find more insights and resources on datamam.com.
Until next time, keep exploring and stay curious.